Hello again guys, it's Carly from the Poetry of Nice, and today I am going to talk to you about how I handle stale items that have been listed on either eBay or Poshmark. First of all, welcome if you are new here. This is a channel all about reselling online. I sell on eBay, Poshmark and Etsy, do it while being a stay-at-home parent to 3 little boys, 5 and under, so it's very much a work-life balance situation. And on this channel I share with you guys everything from haul videos to sales videos to tips and tricks and day in the life and all kinds of other cool stuff in between. So if that sounds interesting, please do think about hitting that subscribe button down below, and don't forget to say hello in the comments so that I can say hi back. So when I talk about stale items, I mean items that have been listed on one of the platforms that I just mentioned and they haven't sold in like a really long time. For me, a really long time is like 6 months to a year. That's when I start getting a little bit anxious about them and starting to think about what I can do to try and rejuvenate them and find a buyer for that item. Really, there are 3 things that you can do for a stale item. You can relist it, you can rework it, or you can just get rid of it and get it out of your life. In this video, I'm going to go into a little bit more depth with each of those points, and I'm going to let you know what I do personally when it comes to having a stale listing and wanting to get back into the feed and in front of the people who are potential buyers for it. So number 1, relist. This is pretty simple, but I'm going to let you know exactly how you would do that. So Poshmark, I would pull up the item, and then I would pull up a separate window where I would go to my sell item on Poshmark. I would pull each of the item photographs, assuming that I'm not wanting to rework those photographs. I would drag them to my desktop so that I have them saved there already, and I would start that brand new listing by copying and pasting all of the information from that previous listing into the new one, add the photographs, make it live, and then delete the listing that you just pulled from. You don't want the same listing up twice for the same item because presumably you only have one of it, so you don't need 2 listings for it. So make sure when you're done transferring that information and making that brand new fresh listing that you will be deleting the previous one. When it comes to eBay, I prefer to end an item and then to do sell similar. This is because it gives the item a brand new item number. It makes it a fresh listing in the eyes of the eBay algorithm, and it has a better chance of being at the top of like new search results when people are looking for something just like what you're trying to sell. One thing I will say about that is, once again, make sure once you've done your sell similar that you delete that original listing. You don't want it accidentally getting relisted. And when it comes to quantity, if you have an item that has multiple quantities and you have sold some of them already, if you do sell similar, it's going to revert back to the original quantity when you first did the listing. So if you had 5 and you sold 2, so you had 3 left over, when you do a sell similar, it's going to put 5 back in that box because that's what you had for that original listing. So check those quantities if it applies to the listing. Why would you want to relist an item? Essentially, it's the idea of making it a fresh listing and therefore having it be more favorable to be pushed to the top of search results for potential buyers. Again, that new item number when it comes to eBay and also on Poshmark, they do have a section that is like for just shared where people can filter by that, but also many people would say that it becomes favorable for those newer listings to be pushed higher in the search ranks. So if your item is stale, that's definitely a place to start. So the next one is rework, and this kind of ties into the relist. It's kind of hard to relist it and not want to tweak a few things here and there, but when I say rework, I basically mean like change some of the little components within your listing to make it more favorable, to have better keywords, better photographs, all kinds of different things that you could do to essentially edit that listing and improve it. I mentioned keywords, so in your title and description there may be some things that you would like to change around that you think would help it rank higher in search. I know personally that when I get sort of 6 months to a year down the line, oftentimes I have learned more since then, and I am more aware of like style names or print names, things like that, and I may want to go ahead and alter some of the words, the keywords in my title or in my description to reflect that. Therefore, it might attract the right buyer a little easier. I mentioned as well photographs. If your photographs are dark or you have changed the way that you do photographs now and you've improved it, for instance, I first started just laying them on the floor or hanging them on the back of a door, and if I have a listing that looks like that, chances are if I think it's still worth my time, I'm going to pull that item, I'm going to place it on my mannequin, and I'm going to take those photos in much better lighting so that they're nice and bright and clean and I can tell exactly what my item is. I may also alter it where if I have like a very specific design detail or a specific print or something like that on an item, I may take my original thumbnail, if you will, and I may do a collage where I add in a picture of the print so that when my buyer is browsing, they can see the details of the print or the details of the embroidery, whatever it may be, right away up close on that very first initial photograph when they're scrolling through Poshmark or eBay, it may just help to attract the buyer and have them take a closer look at your listing. I also watch out for mistakes. So there's been plenty of times when I've wondered why an item is not selling, and then I've gone in and when I've really had a good look, I realized I've spelled the brand name wrong, or I haven't put in the word top when it's a top. There are all kinds of silly things that sometimes slip through the net just because, you know, we're busy people. This is occasionally a little monotonous. It becomes like data entry sometimes, you know, when you're reselling, and sometimes you just slip up and you miss things. So I'm always going back through and when I'm reworking a listing and just double checking and making sure I haven't made an obvious mistake that could be hindering the listing. When it comes to Etsy, I will check those tags and make sure that I have used all of them and make sure there isn't anything that I have missed that I should have put in there that would help people when searching to come up with my item above others. And the last thing that I'm going to say is that I recheck comps. If I have listed at a certain price and it is not moving, it's having low interest, then I would say that checking the comparable prices, like the sold prices on your platform, is a great place to go back and sort of just make sure that you haven't listed obnoxiously high to what the market is currently demanding. The truth is that the market shifts. You may have looked them up when you listed it 6 months to a year ago, and that could have changed since then. They may not be as in demand. They may be more saturated when it comes to people selling that particular item online. So it's definitely worth just going back in, taking a quick look and making sure that your item is priced appropriately. And the last option when dealing with stale items is to get rid of the item. So obviously you could donate those items. You could take them to a thrift store, anything like that. Perhaps a women's shelter. That's a great idea as well. There's all kinds of different places that you could donate them. At thrift stores, of course, you can request a receipt that you can use when filing your taxes with being a small business owner. So remember that. You could also hold a yard sale if you're wanting to try and recoup some of your money. You know, even if you're getting 50 cents or whatever for a piece, if you can clear it out and you can make a little bit of money back to reinvest, that is also a good idea. You could also take the items to a consignment store. I haven't had much luck with something like Plato's Closet, quite frankly. If I'm not able to sell the item because the style or the brand isn't there, they're not really interested either necessarily. It's been my experience. But when it comes to like kids clothing and things, sometimes I do pull some of those kids brands if they sat for a long time, and I take them to my kids consignment store, and I found I have pretty good luck doing that. But if you have a good consignment store near you, perhaps more of an independent one, not a Plato's Closet for example, maybe it'd be worth taking some of those items in and seeing if they would take them off your hands and put them in their brick and mortar store for you. And the last suggestion I would have is maybe do like a swap meet with friends and family. I've actually done this with like fellow mamas before, where we've all brought things that we don't wear anymore, or for me, inventory that hasn't sold, and you kind of can all put it together or whatever, and essentially for each piece that you bring you could take a separate piece. So that is a great way to potentially source for things that you could sell against, you know, things that you could not sell, or perhaps it's just a great way to get yourself a few new items for your own wardrobe and get rid of some of your inventory clutter at the same time. All right, that is it for this video. Do not forget to let me know down in the comments, what do you do with your stale items? Do you have any tips when it comes to listing things or relisting things more effectively? How long is your timeline perhaps that you wait before you start to dabble in changing things around on your items? Because I know it differs for everybody. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please do think about hitting that subscribe button down below, and don't forget to say hello in the comments so I can say hi back. All right, you guys, I will catch you in the next one, and I hope you have an amazing week. Bye, guys.